Hαίrε, and welcome. Today we're in John chapter 2, taking a look at the very last paragraph of that chapter. Starts with verse 23, goes through to verse 25. However, today I think we're only going to do verse 23. Here is our rubric, everything we're looking for as we go through this text. Let's go ahead and get started with a complaint. Previously, when we ran into this one word that I'll point out in a moment, the dictionary that I looked at said indeclinable. And normally I take dictionaries at their word. And then this happened. As you can tell, Jerusalem has declined. I don't understand what's going on here. You lied to me, B-Dag. You lied. So, yes, apparently Jerusalem does decline into nominative and dative at the very least. It's weird. Oh well, let's go ahead and get started. Hos de ein en tois Erosolumos en toi pasca en te heorte poloi episteusan eis ta onoma autu theoruntes autu ta seimea ha epoie. That's as far as we're going to go. We're going to find our verb first, which we see is our third word right here. Ein, which we've seen many times before, so I'm not going to bother parsing it, just imperfect. We need to find a subject next. Neither of these work. Jerusalem clearly doesn't work, the cheater. Pascha, wrong case. That one doesn't work either. So then we have to go to our previous subject, and our previous subject was Jesus. So he was de, meaning and then hos, which is, at least in classical Greek, always a problem. How do we translate this? There are a variety of different options. We could do because, that, when, as, and just as. Those, I think, are the primary different options. So with our verb as indicative, that doesn't work because that is usually only with a subjunctive. Because, I want to say that that's also usually with a subjunctive, but now I don't remember. Just as and as could work. As he was in tois Jerusalemos, probably translates as we actually have context, plus dative. Don't need those letters. And this is going to be plural masculine. Or no, it's neuter. It's neuter. Forgot about that. Indeclinable? Question mark. It's very suspicious now. In the Jerusalem. Quite frequently, city names and country names will be plural, while the meaning, at least as that would appear in English, is singular. Like pants. Pants is singular, even though it looks plural. Whatever. Athens, I think, is plural. That one I could be wrong about. But anyway, so because he was in Jerusalem, don't really see any second clause which would support that idea. Just as he was in Jerusalem, as he was in Jerusalem, or when he was in Jerusalem. So I think when is probably going to be the best, but I'm also going to put in just as. And then let's move on. In, another prepositional phrase, still taking the dative. Toi pascha. Pascha definitely doesn't decline. Another prepositional phrase, so we stop it right there. This is going to be dative and singular. And I don't remember the gender. I think this is neuter. En te heorta over comma ends right there. This is dative again. Singular, feminine. This is festival. Celebration. Or occasionally feast. Now we can figure out this whole thing. And when he was in Jerusalem in the Passover, in the festival, and now we can move on. No figuring out, actually. Omicron iota right there is going to be nominative, plural, and masculine. This means many. I want to take a look ahead, see if there's a noun for this to modify. through all these. No, there's nothing masculine in plural, so this is a substantive. Many we'd say people. Wrong type of bracket there, sorry. Then our verb, episteuson, alpha nu there, augmenting vowel right there. Third person, sigma tells us that it's aorist. With the sigma and the augmenting vowel right there. Active and indicative. Believed. Trusted. And we're going to take a dative as our object, or, oops, in this case, a prepositional phrase, ace. But I think since it's not a person that they're believing in, as we had, I think in the last paragraph, it makes sense that we wouldn't go with the dative. Instead, we go with a prepositional phrase. As we've seen this construction before, ace to onoma autu. Autu is the wrong form to be with this, so onoma is where it ends, plus accusative. Don't need the C's, I keep forgetting that. Latin's messing with my mind. And then singular neuter into the name. Autu we've seen before. His. Moving on, theoruntes. This new tau here should tell us that this is probably a participle. Participles use these forms. There are some nouns, and I can't think of any adjectives that use that. This is from theoreo, so it's a contract, which explains the circumflex right there, rather than the accent moving over this omega. So that's going to be a combination of epsilon, and I think it's just omicron upsilon right there, smushed together to create that diphthong, keeping the accent in place, because otherwise it would technically be on there. If we were to write it out, it would be theoreuntes. And as the antepenult accent could only go that far back, and the E, this epsilon right here isn't long to pull it forward. I hope that actually made some sense. Okay, so this is going to be with epsilon sigma right there, nominative, plural, masculine, present, because of our stem theor, active, and also because of the contraction right there, indicative. So clearly referring back to this group. And this means looking at, observing, or seeing. However, we can translate this in a different way to show a reason why it's a participle. I forget what the names of these things are, but much like the imperfect, there are different ways that you can translate a participle to give an idea of what it's actually trying to say, rather than just the boring ing. So we can have causal. They believed into his name because they observed. They believed into his name when they observed. So on and so forth. Between those two, we've got because, when, since, although, and I can't remember any of the rest of them, but I think the time here is going to be the correct one. When, and I'm going to put because in just in case somebody disagrees with me. So it's one of these two. And then we would change this into something more like a relative clause, or just a normal indicative clause. Okay, observing autu doesn't really make sense to own the participle, so instead we look ahead. Ta semea, ta from ho he to. This is going to be accusative, plural, neuter. Don't need those C's. The signs, which I almost spelled size. Okay, autu, so clearly autu is going to be owning that. Possessive, his. So we have, they believed into his name when they saw his signs, or they believed in his name because they observed, they looked at his signs. I'm going to say these two are probably the better of the two rather than looking. Moving on, we have ha, which is from hos, he, ho, our relative pronoun. It's going to be accusative, plural, neuter, meaning which, referring back to signs right here, so as to match the number and the gender, but the case depends upon its function and its own clause. Epsilon iota there tells us this is going to be a third person singular, and this augmenting vowel tells us that this is going to be imperfect. So third singular imperfect active indicative, and then we have the different imperfect translation options. So we could say he was doing, which he was doing, which he kept doing, which he used to do, which he did, and which he began to do, inceptive. I forgot about the inceptive last time. So which one of those makes most sense? We'll need to know the greater context of the entire thing to figure that out. So I'm going to go back to the beginning and go ahead and do that reading before we actually write that down. When he was in Jerusalem in the Passover, in the festival, many people believed into his name when they observed his signs, which he was doing, which he used to do, which he kept doing, which he began to do, which he did. All right, so just plain old continuous imperfect, was doing, that sounds fine to me. Began to do, I don't think that one fits very well, because in all likelihood he's been doing these beforehand. We know at Kana he did. This translation in this case depends entirely upon when this is in his ministry, and I don't remember when during the 3 or so years this specific one occurs. So he goes to the Passover at the end of his ministry, and he goes one time beforehand, but I don't know if it's year 1 or year 2. If it's year 2, then habitual, I think, would be the best translation. If it's year 1, then I think just plain old continuous imperfect would make sense. If it's year 3, well then habitual would again have to be the correct one. All right, I'm going to write down continuous and habitual and leave it at that. He was doing or making, which he used, no, kept, sorry, there we go, kept doing. Because they're not looking at this in the past, they're looking at this in the present, and used to would imply that he did it previously, not really doing it any longer, as in the previous one because he's dead. Kept, because I'm going with kept because he is doing it right there in front of them at that moment. Okay, I hope that makes sense. Let's go ahead and, there is no greater context. Hey, we're done with this verse. Well, thank you very much for joining me. Have a good day. Hey, not asleep yet? That's okay. I've got tons of other equally sleep-inducing videos for you to watch. Check them out.